Hello Mzansi, you're listening to Farmers Inside Track, proudly brought to you by Food for Mzansi. Officially, this is the world's best podcast for 2024, as awarded by WAN-EFRA, the global organization for the world's press. I am your host, Patricia Tembo. Welcome to episode 476. Today we're discussing face recognition technology for cattle. This episode is set to be both informative and practical as we welcome Tumelo Makgaka, CEO and founder of Leruo. Tumelo, welcome to Farmers Inside Track. We're pleased to have you.
Thank you for having me, Patricia. Thank you to the Food for Mzansi team. I look forward to chatting to you and letting your listeners know about what we're doing.
I'm actually quite curious. Seeing your background in computer science and software engineering, before we get into the actual questions, how did you get into the world of agriculture? How did you take your skill set and apply it to agriculture? How did that come about?
I am from Mafikeng in the Northwest Province. The Northwest Province is a province where agriculture forms a core part of how people make a living. Actually, the way in which Leruo first formed was that I was at my parents' farm. I was with my parents at the time at the farm, and there was an agricultural advisor that was actually present at the farm. On the day, we actually spoke about the applications that technology can have in agriculture, just with regards to keeping information around the pedigree of livestock, etc. At the time, I couldn't see the relevance from my perspective. I was a technology person and I didn't feel a sense of affinity for the livestock industry, but at the same time, it is a core part of who I am, in the sense that my parents have always had a farm since I was young. So after I finished with my computer science studies, I then intended on solving a problem that actually mattered where I'm from, because I tended to solve a lot of problems through software that resonated in cities. But this time I wanted to actually solve a problem that resonates in Mafikeng, in rural communities. And at that point in time, I then recalled the conversation I had with the agricultural advisor. And I was also getting news around the livestock theft that was happening in the community where my parents farm.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, you definitely did solve a problem. I mean, it's quite innovative. Why should farmers adopt technology in combating challenges such as a livestock theft? How do you see technology playing a huge role in your experience so far?
My perspective around why farmers should adopt technology is that I think firstly, it just stems from what the industry has experienced, in that the state has found it difficult to combat the problem. It could be through a lack of capacity, etc. I can't exactly have a clear understanding of what the number of reasons are that have led livestock theft to become this big a problem and carry on for this long. But the beauty of technology is that it allows us to deliver fantastic solutions to complicated problems at a price which an everyday person can have access to. Through our technology, for example, we're able to deliver the livestock theft protection for farmers for free. And when you take into context the fact that annually as a country we're losing 1.4 billion rand due to livestock theft, just the scale of the problem, the fact that in some cases with livestock theft, you've got cross-border theft where essentially a cow gets stolen from one province, is sold in another country, and that becomes a difficult legal issue for authorities to resolve and for a farmer to reclaim their livestock. So essentially, through our technology, those sorts of problems can be solved, since the information around the ownership still is able to be accessed regardless of the jurisdiction. So firstly, due to cost, I believe that technology provides farmers an opportunity to solve these complex problems at a cheaper price. And then secondly, due to the new levels of protection it will provide, since, as we've discussed, the fact that brand marks currently exist, but the livestock theft problem still exists, which shows us that the problem hasn't been solved by existing methods. So really cost and effectiveness.
Now you're mentioning the cost effectiveness of adopting technologies. how do you make the app accessible for livestock farmers in remote areas where there's poor network coverage? How do you see farmers adopting it, especially, the older generation who are a little bit more hesitant to information online and things like that?
When we started with Leruo, we actually worked with a number of farmers in rural communities that don't have network access, and we got to experience firsthand the problems that farmers can experience when trying to use technology within their operations. And then secondly, the lack of technology literacy or the reluctance to use technology and have the information online. That's another thing that we got to experience. So from there, we then developed our platform to ensure that it is able to be used offline. So it essentially works the same way that WhatsApp works, where if you're collecting information on your device and you're doing it in an area that doesn't have network, when you do enter an area that has network, you're then able to upload all of that information. So that goes from firstly registering the cow by scanning its face, and then secondly, record keeping that the farmer is able to do around the vaccinations they've used. And then lastly, being able to gain market access through the platform. That's all able to be done offline so that they can do it in the moment as they're doing the data collection. And then once they're in an area that has network, they're then able to send that information. And then in relation to the question around sometimes the reluctance of farmers to have their information online or to use technology, firstly, we encrypt all of the information that is uploaded by a farmer onto the platform to ensure that they have full security around that information. And then secondly, we ensure that there are basically two ways to use the platform. One, where a farmer is able to use it themselves directly, or secondly, where a farmer is able to gain the assistance of an agricultural advisor, where they use it on behalf of the farmer. And then basically all the information that the agricultural advisor logs on the app is then relayed to the farmer via WhatsApp.
There's nothing quite like this app in South Africa. It's really innovative, especially at a time like this where we're seeing Food for Mzansi getting different comments and just expressing the challenges that they're having with livestock theft. I think it's really commendable that you found the gap and filled it and have started up Leruo. Very excited to see how it goes going forward. But you touched on the role agricultural advisors play, and going back to your previous years when you did interact with an agricultural advisor. Maybe you can speak a little bit more about the role that they would play with an app and why farmers can trust them with using the app as well.
Firstly, just at a fundamental level, I believe that agricultural advisors are the cornerstone of the agricultural industry, not just the livestock industry, but the agricultural industry, since they normally serve as the bridge between farmers and the agricultural world, whether it's service providers such as Leruo or cooperatives that farmers are able to buy inputs from, or banks, or animal health organizations. Agricultural advisors tend to serve as the bridge to that insofar as from an informational perspective. So we have recognized that it is important for us to include them within our platform and within the usage of our platform. So basically, through our platform, agricultural advisors are able to assist farmers that they work with regards to the logging of information on the platform. And the reason why farmers should trust agricultural advisors in this regard is because agricultural advisors essentially share in the outcomes. When farmers make more money, they're able to hire agricultural advisor for more consultory services. And that essentially moves everyone forward. So it's in agricultural advisors' best interest to ensure that farmers have great outcomes. And we basically, through our platform, aim to strengthen this sort of relationship.
Farmers are required to register an animal identification mark. And from my understanding, Leruo does include that on the app. The brand mark certificate is applied on the platform. If you could just expand a little bit more on that, what the benefits are of being able to put this onto the platform?
So firstly, the brand mark certificates are the official state-provided form of identification. There is no way for us to build a livestock identification system without including the brand mark certificates. Otherwise, in the case of theft disputes, cow facial recognition wouldn't be legally enforceable, but a brand mark is. So through farmers uploading the brand mark certificate, it basically ensures that in the event that the cow is stolen or there's a believed case of theft and authorities are involved to verify the ownership, when the brand mark certificate is uploaded on the platform, farmers are essentially able to provide that to authorities right from their device. And that can then help them with regards to ensuring that they can reclaim their livestock.
We're going to get into Leruo, the app, and how it's used. Could you please walk us through how a farmer would use it? Maybe going into detail on how the face recognition technology works. Feel to be as descriptive as possible, just describing it, but perhaps to a farmer who's never even heard about the app and how it's used, just going into detail and walk us through it, please.
The way Leruo works, I like to call it a platform with 3 features. So basically, the first feature is the cow facial recognition, or as we like to call it, home affairs for cows. So essentially what happens is that the farmer scans the cow's face using a smartphone. So basically, they open up the app, they point the camera to the cow's face, and then the app will basically walk them through the registration process where they continue to scan the cow's face, and underneath the surface, the platform uses artificial intelligence to uniquely identify and distinguish cattle from each other using their faces. And that basically functions the same way that human facial recognition does. If you've got an Android phone, you might see on Google Photos, it is able to distinguish the faces of the people that are appearing in a picture. So we've built similar technology, but for cows. And basically farmers just scan the cow's face and then it's registered. And then once the cow's been registered, they're then able to record keeping around the vaccinations that they use on the cattle so that they can gain egg lots. So
it's quite fascinating. One wouldn't think, obviously, nature is just very diverse and there's a lot of variance. But, one wouldn't think that cattle like cows themselves also have, unique features to the face that, you could use a technology such as this one. It's quite interesting.
Exactly.
Expanding on traceability. Besides the app helping to combat livestock theft, the whole issue of traceability as well is being able to trace back a cow or, a herd to combat livestock diseases such as foot-and-mouth disease, etc. Maybe you can expand a little bit more on how traceability is, how the app goes hand in hand with traceability in the livestock industry.
I believe that the biggest challenge within traceability has been data sharing, specifically moving when the ownership of cows exchanges hands, say from your calf producer to your feedlot, then from your feedlot to your abattoir, and then down to retail. So the magic of Leruo is that due to the nature of the technology and the way that it's built, since it doesn't require a farmer or a buyer to purchase any additional hardware in order to do data collection or data sharing, they simply just use their phone. So in that way, it is better able to facilitate traceability within the value chain where once a cow exchanges hands from a seller to a buyer, then basically the information pertaining to that cow, firstly, its origin point and its movements is able to be transferred to the buyer, be it a feedlot or an abattoir. And in that way, Leruo is able to aid within ensuring efficient transfer of information for the purpose of traceability.
Yeah, the efficiency part of it is quite important when we're speaking about disease control as well. On that topic, I don't know if there are other features on the app that a farmer can use to, manage herd health.
Yes. So with regards to managing the herd health, that falls within the record-keeping features within the platform. So firstly, farmers are able to log the vaccination information with regards to the livestock, and then they're also able to receive advice from agricultural advisors and animal health technicians around best practices around the livestock. If they encounter any health problems within the livestock, they're able to receive advisory services from animal health technicians as well as agricultural advisors. And then secondly, within the platform, farmers are also able to receive outbreak updates. If there's been an outbreak of foot and mouth within a certain area, farmers are able to receive real-time updates from the platform.
We've had many guests on the show who emphasize the importance of record keeping. So, an app such as this, makes that a lot easier for farmers, having everything on one place, being able to transfer that information. So I think, it's quite important that record keeping is something that's been considered in the development of this app as well. Wrapping up the conversation, how has the platform impacted small scale farmers or communal farmers from your experiences, from what you've heard and seen? If you can share a little bit more about that, how has it made them more competitive in the market?
Through the platform, we've been able to help farmers increase the negotiating power by basically selling in groups. And we've also been able to help them increase the price that they receive per kilogram a cow sold through the record keeping. With regards to formal market buyers, there is a requirement that they have with regards to having a veterinary sign off on the health of livestock before a cow is sold. Specifically, feedlots have that requirement from farmers. So the record keeping aspect within the platform allows farmers to log this information such that at the point where they want to make a sale, then all the information is available for buyers to gain access to and assess the practices that our farmers been following. So that has proved quite useful with regards to helping farmers to get better outcomes, being able to sell in batches, and then having comprehensive information around the herds has helped farmers. In addition to when selling in batches, farmers are able to sell their cattle right from the communities as opposed to having to find the means to get the logistics to reach formal markets to sell their cattle. So instead, buyers are able to come to farmers to buy their cattle directly from them. And from a price perspective, that has then helped farmers increase the outcomes at a substantial level, where farmers in a community in Limpopo have now been able to receive offers. Like, they were initially starting from 24 rands per kilogram. Those are the offers they were receiving before using Leruo. And using Leruo, now they're able to receive offers that are much closer to the national price per kilogram for calves, which is 31 rand. So they've managed to move from that 24 rand, where they were selling within the area and were not getting the best of offers. And now they've been able to move much closer to the 31 rand per kilogram, currently selling at 30 rand per kilogram.
Oh, that's quite amazing. For the farmers listening, how can they download this app? Is it available on Google Play, iStore? Please tell us how one can access this platform.
Yes. So the way in which farmers can access the platform, they can go to www.leruo.co, and currently at the moment, we are currently piloting with farmers, so they aren't able to download it directly from the App Store, but if they join our pilot program, we can then provide them with a mobile platform so that they can then start using it.
Thank you so much to Tumelo Makgaka, CEO and founder of Leruo. For more information on the topic, please visit www.foodformzansi.co.za. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. From me, Patricia Tembo, our technical producer, Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food for Mzansi. Thank you for listening.